The Soul of Wisdom, the story of John's journey to light. The night was heavy with silence, and the moon hung low, half hidden behind drifting clouds. In a small forgotten village, surrounded by the quiet breath of the mountains, lived a young man named John. He was not rich, nor known, nor powerful. His clothes were simple, his home was made of cracked clay, and his dreams were often lost in the wind that blew across the valley. But inside his heart burned a question that never let him sleep. Why was I born like this? Every morning, John would watch the sunrise from the edge of the field, where he worked for the landlord, cutting, digging, carrying, sweating and earning just enough to feed himself. He had no family left, the world had taken them from him one by one, and all that remained was a soft memory of his mother's prayer and his father's voice telling him, "Son, never stop believing in good." But belief was a fragile thing. As the years passed, John's faith began to fade like an old photograph. One evening, when the sun was bleeding into the horizon, John sat alone under an ancient tree. His hands were rough from work, his eyes hollow from hunger, and his heart tired of waiting for miracles. He whispered into the wind, "Maybe life has forgotten me." And the wind, soft and almost human, seemed to whisper back, "Or maybe you have forgotten life." John looked up, startled. No one was there, only the rustling leaves, and yet the words echoed inside him. That night, something changed. He began to walk, not to any place, but simply to move, to find something beyond his small existence. The path led him through dark woods, silent valleys, and endless roads that seemed to go nowhere. He slept under the stars, drank from streams, and talked to himself like a madman, asking questions that no one could answer. Days turned into weeks. His feet bled. His body weakened. But his heart began to see what his eyes could not. Every sunrise became a message. Every sound of a bird, a whisper of meaning. He started to feel that maybe, just maybe, life was not about having, but being. One night, he reached a mountain where the air was cold and the world below seemed unreal. There he met an old hermit sitting beside a fire. The man's face glowed with peace, and his eyes were deep as the ocean. John bowed and said, "Sir, I have nothing left. I came here to find God, or to die." The old man smiled softly, "Then you have already found him. For one cannot reach this mountain unless his soul is ready to see." John frowned. "But I am empty. I have lost everything." The old man threw a dry branch into the fire. Sparks rose like golden stars. "Look," he said. This branch had no life. But when it met fire, it shined. Sometimes, loss is not the end, but the beginning of light. John sat quietly. The words sank deep into him. He asked, "How can I find peace?" The hermit answered, "By giving what you have, not what you don't." John was confused. "But I have nothing to give." The old man smiled again. "Then give your kindness. Give your time. Give your listening. The universe does not measure gifts by weight, but by heart." That night, John didn't sleep. He stared at the stars and felt, for the first time, not alone. He realized that every star was a part of him, small, distant, yet shining. He wept, not from pain, but from understanding. When the morning came, the hermit was gone, as if he had been just a dream. But beside the ashes of the fire lay a small wooden bowl with words carved into it. "The soul that gives, never stays empty." John took the bowl and walked down the mountain. As he returned to the village, he began helping others in ways that cost him nothing but gave everything. He repaired broken fences for old women, carried water for tired men, taught little children how to read, and listened to those who had no one to talk to. At first, people mocked him. They called him the mad wanderer. But slowly, something strange began to happen. Wherever John went, peace followed. The sick felt hope again. The sad began to smile. And the poor, though still poor, found comfort in his presence. He had no money, yet he gave more than any rich man could. He had no wisdom, yet his words healed broken hearts. Years passed, and John grew older. His hair turned silver, his body weaker, but his soul stronger than ever. The village that once pitied him now looked up to him as their light. They began calling him the man who sold his wisdom. He would laugh softly at that name and say, I never sold anything. I just learned that what we give freely is what truly belongs to us. One evening, as the sun was setting and the air glowed golden, a young boy came running to him. "John, they say the river is drying. What should we do?" John looked toward the horizon, the same place he had once cried out to the heavens. He smiled. "Then we will share what little water we have until the sky remembers mercy." That night, it rained. Softly at first, then harder, until the dry earth drank like a thirsty soul. The villagers cheered, but John stood in silence, letting the rain wash over his face. He whispered, "You never forgot me, my lord. I was just too blind to see you were always here." When the morning came, the sun rose brighter than ever. John stood on the hill where his journey had begun, holding the same wooden bowl from years ago. He smiled at the world below, a world he once thought had abandoned him. And then, with the peace of a man who has seen eternity, he said his last words. "Life does not owe you anything. But it gives everything to those who learn to love." The wind carried his words like music through the valley. Some say that even today, when the wind blows across that mountain, you can still hear his voice whispering, "Give, and you shall be given." Sparkles the end sparkles.